Welcome back to Inside the Pylon, a Midwest college football podcast, joined as always by an obnoxious looking Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Satkoviak. I don't want to be here tonight. It took a lot of mental fortitude to do this. I intentionally played hockey at 10 p.m. to try to get out of it, Clinton. Fuck you.
We had it set for tomorrow night. You texted me to do it
Dude,
early.
I straight up forgot. I don't, what time did I don't even remember when I texted you, but I got the so this team I sub for them. I don't like play full time. So I got the email whenever I like right before I texted you. It was like, you've been accepted to play. I'm like, oh, that's going to be kind of tough to do both of those at the same time. So thank you for your flexibility. I appreciate it.
No problem. If
I truly don't care how you're doing tonight, so I'm not even going to ask.
the children are supposed to be going upstairs for a bath, but Elliot at some point has requested to make an appearance on the show at some point. We told him no go tonight, that tonight's a speed episode so Daddy can be ready for bedtime. Ryan, you don't need to ask. You can just see what I'm wearing, that I'm overjoyed that the Ohio State Buckeyes are the national champions of the 2024 college football season. But I think the other thing that hit me, I'm kind of depressed that the season's over. I'm really sad. It's been a long season. This is the busiest I think you and I have ever been during a college football season, given the podcast. But I think it stings even more now because we were so much invested into different teams this year, other than our own, and just way more immersed in the Big Ten than I ever thought I would be. But been an exciting day. There were tons of Ohio State gear, of course, worn into my work today, just given that we live in Columbus. I did have one Notre Dame fan. It was a new eval today, and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, did you watch the championship game last night?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, were you a Ohio State fan? He goes, "Well, I am, except for when they play Notre Dame,
Oof.
and I'm a Notre Dame fan." No, I was like, "Well, I'm sorry." You stayed up really late last night to watch that, but I don't know. I'm excited to get your thoughts on the game and give you my thoughts on the game and kind of what my experience was like sitting in between my rocking chair and my sectional. As I don't know, my pregame yesterday, man. My bowels were. It looked like it took X-Lax. I was I was going pretty good. Lee's like, "Is there something wrong with you?" I was eating dinner and she'd look at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" And the children were sitting there, and I would be like, "No, I'm not okay. My team's playing for a national championship. I'm nervous as hell." And so how are you doing, Ryan?
It was a long day, man. It was a long day. Everyone at work was treating me like my fucking dog died or some shit. Like, hey, buddy, are
you
you
do
okay?
you do work with a bunch of Michigan people, don't you?
Yeah, well, like they know. They know what my deal is. They just it's not a secret. And yeah, just a lot of hey, buddy, are you okay? Like, no, I'm not okay. I want to fucking shoot myself in the head right now.
Come to my funeral tonight on our show, Inside the Pylon.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? You guys can work my patience for me tomorrow when I jump into the frozen Huron River tonight and freeze to death. So that's not funny. We're gonna
It
stop
is
making jokes.
it is pretty damn
Okay.
cold here, dude. We're sitting at
I
0 degrees right now.
yeah, we're in the negatives. I legitimately
As
make
many championships as Oregon has.
so like I don't know if it's just a dark sense of humor or I'm just an asshole, but I make way too many self-harm jokes just like nonchalantly. And I did not watch the game with Sam last night. And I don't remember it. I think it was either. I don't remember at what point I walked upstairs to go to the bathroom. I don't think it was after the Smith catch. It was. I think it was a little bit before then. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm gonna fucking off myself." She's like, "I will not go to my book release party if you're not okay." I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm literally fine. I'm being dramatic."
A podcast, Locked On Bengals, that I listen to, they often, one of their sponsors is BetterHelp, Ryan. Maybe we should contact BetterHelp and they can be one of our sponsors for the show to help you cope with
No,
this deal you have.
we have the signs in the bathroom at work. Are you sad, depressed? Do you need help? Call the hotline. I'm like, you know what? That sounds like the number for me tonight. No, man, like this is so much worse than 2012 because I don't know. I mean, I'm now
Well,
12 years further into
the
Notre Dame.
world was supposed to come to an end that year, so
Oh, I
how we
completely
get much
forgot
worse
about
than
that.
that?
I completely
The
forgot about
Mayans
that.
predicted Notre Dame would get their ass kicked in the national championship, and the world would end.
I
And only one of them came true.
I wish the world would have ended then. No, but I'm like 12 years further into fanhood now, and it's like the one side of it is you never know when you're going to get back here. And especially as a program like Notre Dame, I mean, you're like Ohio State. It's like, I don't fucking care about Ohio State's fans' feelings because it's like, shut up. Like, you're more talented than everyone else in the Big Ten. I'm so tired of all this, like, everyone in all these Rutgers and Minnesota fans who are like, yeah, Big Ten. I'm like, you guys suck. Quit riding the coattails of the only good teams in your fucking conference here. But, like, I have no sympathy for Ohio State fans. It's like, you're in this game every 4 years. Whatever. Who cares? But you go, I mean, every 12 years, you never know when it's going to come back. And like that, and I was thinking about this today too, because like when that 2012 game happened, like that was just such an unexpected year. And I think for Notre Dame this year, there was a playoff expectation. I don't know if there was like a legitimate national title like expectation or anything. Certainly not with the way injuries mounted up. I'm like sitting there all year thinking, when is the other shoe going to drop? And it turns out it dropped in the second quarter of this game. But like that 2012 team was just like so unexpectedly, I don't even know if good is the right word, but the run that they made was truly like mythical. Like that was like stuff of Notre Dame legend where it's like this team is not that good. There's no explanation for why they keep winning. It has to be some kind of weird divine intervention. And then you meet the devil in the national title game and the game's over 5 minutes and it's like they clearly don't belong. And for that game, we watched it. We were in Vegas for that. It was a Monday. It was still the Monday night games, but it was the first Monday of our semester, and I didn't have Monday classes that semester. So that Monday night, I took a red-eye flight back to Detroit to drive down to Bowling Green. So I literally got back into Bowling Green like 2 hours before my semester started. So it was just like on a flight, semester starts. I have no time to think about this at all. And then that was just like such a weird week after, because then like Brian Kelly interviewed with the Eagles, and then like 3 days later, the Manti Te'o girlfriend thing dropped, and it was just like all chaotic shitstorm after that. There was no time to just decompress and think about, oh, how cool was this? And then, just being here and living life like a normal person now, it's like, you know what? That sucked. That really sucked. I don't know where you want to start about this. I don't know, like, do you want to talk about the game or just kind of like your vibes going through it? Because that's certainly like, I think the frustrating thing for Notre Dame too is like, the game started exactly how you wanted. You forced Ohio State to play your game. They had 3 first half possessions. Clinton, if you told me on our preview show that Ohio State is going to have 3 first half possessions, I would have put $1,000 on Notre Dame to win the game, like money line, because that was the path.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is they got 0 stops on those 3 possessions.
Yep. And I had before I kind of recap the first quarter, I had an interesting interaction through our Inside the Pylon Twitter page today with a Notre Dame fan who said, "Love you, Al Golden, but you royally fucked us last night." And I'm like, homie.
There's a lot of that on the message.
There were some other
boards.
things other than Al Golden losing that game for you last night.
There's
you
a
went
lot of
completely
people-
missing in the second quarter. You
No, and
ghosted
that's like
the second quarter.
there's a lot of people who are irrationally mad at Al Golden taking the Bengals job or allegedly taking the Bengals job. I don't think he's I've seen that it's
Pen to
been
paper
signed.
tomorrow.
I've seen that it's been agreed to, but it's the reports publicly at least are that he's interviewing for it, but he's going to be the Bengals DC. And the thing that I saw on the message boards is he already has his staff picked out too. So like there's people
Okay.
on the message boards that are like, oh my God, he wasn't even preparing for Ohio State. He was putting his staff with the Bengals together. It's like, shut up.
He was. Like, these guys are competitors, right?
Also, you can do both. You can do both. He's not game planning for 24 hours a day.
Tom Herman accepted a head coaching position in the midst of Ohio State's 2014 national championship run, and they still won.
Also, he knows Zach Taylor. It's not like this is a
Yes.
whole new introduction. It was probably like a text like, hey, man, are you interested? Oh, yeah, probably. Okay, well, cool. This is your job if you want it.
The Locked On Bengals, again, who are my go-tos for those of you who might be Bengals fans, they do a great job. They said they would not be surprised, and kind of what they've heard is this has probably been in the works for a week. Like
Yeah.
Zach Taylor contacted Al Golden, made him aware. Zach Taylor was respectful and made sure everybody was respectful with release of information, that the official interview wouldn't be till after the Natty. It'd be Tuesday or Wednesday. And of course they chose Wednesday so he could travel home, get everything in order. wrap up his Notre Dame stuff. But I think that office will be empty tomorrow, and it is fully expected the Irish will be without a defensive coordinator, which I guess we can tackle replacement at a different time. But back to the game, opening drive. I'm excited. First of all, I think it's always a debate. Do you take the toss? If you win the toss, do you take the ball? Do you play defense? Ohio State won all 4 tosses in all 4 of these playoff games. Took the ball twice and then didn't. Well, they deferred, so I guess technically Notre Dame could have chosen to play defense, but then you would have let Ohio State start on the ball twice.
Yep.
I've never seen someone be dumb enough to do that.
I think it's happened once.
From a misunderstanding, maybe, hopefully.
Yes, where they said the other team deferred and the other team said we'll kick because they thought that means they get the ball, not we defer our choice to the second half.
I feel like I remember that now because I think there was some big thing about it, but like,
Yeah,
hey,
I don't remember the level.
don't be
but
stupid.
I know it happened once. I just don't remember the level.
So, anyways, I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm like, okay, Ohio State, I trust the defense. You get an opening drive stop and score, then Notre Dame's already in a hole, right? Because you've had the ball once, couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And what you and I both talked about came true on the first drive was that if Notre Dame gets 3rd and short, being 3rd and 3 or less, or a 4th and short, they're going to take Riley Leonard and run him right at your throat. They're not going to run him off the edge. He's going to run right up the gut behind his own line. And then they kept a good pace on offense, right? They weren't slow playing it. I wouldn't call it exactly like hurry up, but they were back to the line of scrimmage quick, and they ran it again, and they fatigued Ohio State. Those poor defensive tackles, they were neutralized because they were gassed. And Notre Dame wasn't really substituting, so now Ohio State can't substitute. Now, that did result in poor Riley Leonard throwing his guts up all over the sidelines after the drive. And somebody posted an image of, how the new NCAA thing, like with your injured meter on your player,
Yeah,
this is Riley
red.
Leonard, and it's all red everywhere
Red.
after the first drive. And man, if you looked at him, obviously you did, he looked exhausted. And I'm like, as much as I was mad that they scored and took 10 minutes of time to do it, which I'm sitting here thinking like, texting my brother-in-law, like, this is not a fight we want to do with them, because if this happens, we have to score on every possession to be able to combat this. And lo and behold, they did for the next 4 possessions. But anyways, to that, I look at Leonard and I'm like, God, if they can't possibly do that to him all game, because the kid will be dead before the second quarter. Because not only is he exhausting himself running and being the feature piece of the offense, he's getting the shit beat out of him every time he hits somebody.
Well, you could see it on his throws too. Like on that second drive, I think the 1st and 10 play on the second drive, it was a wide, he had his guy open on a crosser, and it was a fucking duck, 10 yards over him.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep. And so right after that drive, Ohio State gets the ball back. Well, of course they get the ball back. Duh. They get the ball. They're driving down the field. Right after Henderson busts the 15-yard run to the outside, it's pause time because it's bedtime. And what did I tell you? I'd be thinking the entire time I'm putting my kid to bed. I'm getting him ready, sing to him, and in the back of my mind is like, I wonder what's happening right now. And I'm trying to tell myself, it doesn't change the game if you're watching it live or you have to catch up. You are not the X factor that makes them win this game. But it is eating me away. I'm like, I just want to know if we scored. We can't turn the ball over because Notre Dame just scored and took 10 minutes of the clock. If Will Howard throws a pick, we're going to be in a hole. I come down, watch the rest of that drive. Ohio State scored very easily. Made it look very easy. And I'm like, okay. The key is now the second offensive drive for Notre Dame. And apparently, Holly Rowe reported it, but Larry Johnson chewed the defensive line's asses out after that first drive and said, we're not doing this. This is not happening. And they nutted up and made a good first down play, but then Notre Dame shot themselves in the foot with back-to-back penalties. And you and I also talked about this pregame. I think the hold was on, that was the second penalty that was called, correct?
Yeah, it was false start, then a hold.
The hold, I see it, but I've also seen that be let go before. But you and I talked about this crew is flag happy. And it's not that the players don't know this. They're aware of that. So if something's in question, they're probably going to flag you for it. And it was close enough. I could see the movement on the jersey. I see why you could call it. I could certainly see if you don't call it. I about had a stroke, though, that we actually got a holding call. I don't think we've had one for 3 years. But so you shot yourself in the foot. And you give the ball back to Ohio State. And they score again. And at this point, I'm starting to feel more confident because now we got the lead. And I'm like, all right, we're 14-7. They can't stop a lick for our offense right now. But we really still need the defense to step up because if Notre Dame goes on another 10-minute drive here, it's halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's equal. Or even if it's 14-10. And then that's when you get, I believe, you get a noodle arm throw again from Riley Leonard on that drive, missing someone.
Maybe that was the noodle arm throw. I
And
think
then
that might have been.
in addition to that, what was both of these teams, those stupid ass plays with the motion of Jeremiah Smith and then the freaking tight end.
Yeah, that made no sense. That
Did
one of the
Denbrock
worst
just
third
say,
downs.
hold my beer, Chip Kelly? I'm going to do the same thing.
Well, I think the Denbrock one came first. I think Chip Kelly tried to one-up it. But yeah, that was one of the worst third down play calls I've
I'm
ever
pretty
seen.
sure Smith's came first. That was on our second drive.
Oh, yeah.
I'm almost for certain.
Yeah. Okay.
We salvaged the drive, but so, and people were asking me about that today, and I was like, I don't think Smith was the target to get that ball. I think the snap was poorly timed with his motion, and it hit him, and he's so damn reactive as an athlete, he kept a hold of the ball and ran. Because if you watch Igbuka and then I believe Tate at the bottom of the screen, they're not blocking anyone. Because it wasn't supposed to come that way. I think it was supposed to go to Howard, and he gets the option to hand it to Henderson, to then hoping Smith takes the players with him on the motion, and Henderson gets a clear path. And it didn't work. And then I see Notre Dame run it, and of course, the tight end is not Jeremiah Smith. It bounces off his leg. They luckily recover it. And then Ohio State gets the ball back anyways and scores 21-7 at the half. And I don't know where your thoughts were at this point, but many Ohio State fans were like, "Game's over. It's on ice." I'm like, "No, it's not."
I thought it was over.
I'm like, this team though, they're so tough. Notre Dame's so mentally tough. I can't see them being fragile to be out of this game. Ohio State, keep going. Go ahead.
I thought that, like, you come out of the half and you get a stop and then you get a score and all of a sudden it's a game. And then the second play from scrimmage, you bust at the second level and let up a 70-yard run. And I was pretty much like, I wasn't like checked out of the game at that point, but I'm like, this is over. Like, they're not coming back from 28-7. Like, that's not going to happen. They're not moving because you got to think by that point, like, you had a great first drive. Your second two drives were like, it wasn't even that Ohio State you weren't even giving Ohio State the opportunity to stop you because you were shooting yourself in the foot. So like at that point you had done, outside of the first drive, like nothing on offense. And then they come out for the drive right after that. And that was the fake punt drive. They go 3 and out and they run the fake punt with the backup quarterback. It was the Kirby Smart SEC title game fake punt. Like, just run Riley Leonard. They know it's coming. But no, I want to go back to the coin toss thing because I thought that was interesting because I thought that was a really shrewd decision by Ohio State because a lot had been made coming into this game about Notre Dame's dominance of the middle eight. I think it was 145-14. They had outscored teams in the middle eight this season. So that opportunity to create that 2-for-1 coming out of going into half and coming out of it, I thought was shrewd. Because you got to think too, like the thought process was we're creating an extra possession of ourselves and we trust that our defense is going to get a stop so we can still score for it first. And I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of puckering on the Ohio State sideline when Notre Dame kept punching them in the face and they didn't respond on that first drive. There definitely was on Ohio State Twitter. Because I saw a couple of, maybe we should have taken the ball first tweets.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right though. You cut into what Notre Dame's been so successful with. How did they win the Penn State game?
Middle eight.
Middle eight.
Yep. That's how they won the Georgia
game.
game.
Right out in the second half.
That's how they won the Georgia game too.
Yes. And I would argue the Penn State one more impressive, right? You didn't get the kickoff return TD. You got a full drive to just repeatedly punch Penn State in the mouth.
Yep.
Also, this nonsensical bullshit of Penn State fans on Twitter last night. Penn State would be doing better than Notre Dame would be right now. I'm like, well, maybe you should have won the game. Maybe you should have thrown a pick at the end of the game and went to overtime.
Also, if you had 0 completions against Notre Dame secondary, do you really think anyone on that team would have done what Jaden Greathouse did in the fourth quarter?
Yes. I'm sitting here thinking Penn State, Ohio State would have waxed your ass because Notre Dame at least has something on offense. Ohio State would have sold out to stop your running backs, and Drew Aller would have done jack shit, just like he didn't do the first time. And then they keep saying, well, we held Ohio State to less points than Notre Dame did. I'm like, Ohio State gave you a 10-0 lead, and you still lost in your own house.
Also,
what more could you want?
Will Howard dropped a ball into the end zone in that game as well.
Mm-hmm. And Will Howard has been on a tear that we didn't know we were going to get.
This is a significantly different Will Howard
Yes,
who
this is
game of his life. Game of
yes,
his life. So like we talked
12 for
coming
12
in
to start.
we talked coming into this game, like, and I thought like that first drive for Notre Dame was genius because not only do you melt that much time off the clock, but you force Ohio State to have to play slow as well. I thought like coming into this game, Notre Dame struggled with the hurry up against Penn State a fair amount in that game, and I thought that'd be something that Chip Kelly and Ryan Day would try to employ to try to keep the Notre Dame defense guessing. They didn't even really need to do that. They still did a great job of keeping the Notre Dame defense guessing, playing at a slower pace, which they had to play at a slower pace because especially that first drive, you got to sit there and think, we need to go on a long drive here to give our defense a rest because I think, I mean, even on that first drive too, I mean, there were a couple of big inflection points in this game. One underrated one early is, I don't remember, I think it was like a 3rd and 5, like right away on that first drive, and Ohio State converted pretty easily, so I don't think there was much thought. Oh, it was the, Leonard Moore had like stuck coverage on Smith, and he made a great play to come back to the ball and lunge forward to get the first down. Like, if Leonard Moore like gets a hand on that there, it's 3 and out, and who the hell knows what happens then? Because they are going, I mean, Riley Leonard was dead, so maybe Notre Dame had no capacity to run offense at that point. But then you put a tired Ohio State defense back out there down 7-0, and who knows what happens. But I think, I mean, I saw a tweet today that this game was, from an efficiency standpoint, both Ohio State and Notre Dame's best offensive and worst defensive performance of the season. Because of the points scored in relative to the total number of possessions in this game, not in terms of like overall points or whatever. But like that's the difference in this game was Notre Dame's second quarter offense. When you go back and look at it, and I mean, obviously, you can't just say with the game flow, oh well, if Notre Dame did something different and it still played out the same way, they would have won. Because then you never know how the second half plays out, right? Like, did Ohio State go as aggressive in the second half with their play calling because of the advantage that they had? Probably not, and that probably plays a little bit into the comeback, at least from Notre Dame's ability defensively to slow down Ohio State. Notre Dame made some great plays on offense in the fourth quarter to get back into this game. Like the spin move Greathouse put shaking Caleb Downs, like that was next level stuff. You know, burning Igbinosun deep. Or was it? I don't remember if it was Igbinosun or Hancock he burnt deep on the second touchdown.
Can we not talk about Igbinosun?
You're wearing number 1 there, bud.
Now, this is Justin Fields. No, this is just a reusable number, so I can wear a different one every year. That was Hancock. That I tell you what, that was just a phenomenal throw by Riley Leonard and a great catch by Greathouse because Hancock was in. He's great coverage. Great coverage. I tell you another one that was great was Henderson and Watts. Now, neither one of them came down with the ball, but my God, like,
well, watching the replay too, it was in Watts' hands. Henderson pulls it away, and it looked like he was going to catch it, and then it slipped out there. So that was good defense because was that the second drive? It was either the second or the third drive because it was still first half. But if Watts gets that interception, again, we're talking about a completely different game here. But I think too.
What's up, Jake?
What up, Jake?
Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it.
I think the issue in the first half for Notre Dame is especially that third drive. Like, you needed to get a first down, like just a first down, because even if you don't score at that point, Ohio State puts 2 long offensive touchdown drives on you. They have all the momentum, and you go 3 and out, which gives them enough time to go long and score before half without giving you a chance to get the ball back. If you get a first down or 2, even if you don't score, you limit their ability to get down the field. And I mean, maybe they hit an explosive play anyway, so it doesn't matter. But then you're going into the half at 14-7 or 17-7. It's a completely different feel to that game, and then you have a little bit more momentum. But it's just such a weird game to play because Notre Dame's defense played its worst game of the year, but they did a really good job of limiting explosives in this game. Like, absolutely. It looked like their plan, like Jeremiah Smith's stat line, if you take that last catch out, was pedestrian. It was like 4 catches for 35 yards. They did a very good job shutting him down. You have the issue is you have guys throughout this Ohio State offense who can make plays, and it's not Smith, it's Tate's making plays, it's Igbuka's making plays. You had Brandon Innes had a big third down conversion where he just put.
Did you see that acceleration on him, man?
Just out of the cut, unreal.
Oh my
just
God!
Exploded out of his cut and left Rod Hurd in the dust. You have Judkins out of the backfield making catches. You have Judkins
That's
running,
the number one.
making
That's the
plays.
number one I'm repping here, Ryan. Not Igbinosun. I'm repping Mr. Judkins.
And I guess we can just kind of talk about. Well, I guess we're skipping ahead if we talk on Jake asked, what are your thoughts on Notre Dame's defensive play call on the last 3rd and long conversion for Ohio State? I think it's fitting that the Al Golden era, I think I tweeted this from our account, it's fitting that the Al Golden era ends as it begins with getting burnt on a 0 blitz against Ohio State like he did in 2022 with the double safety blitz. I mean, I get the thought process. Like, there's a 0% chance that they thought that Ryan Day or Chip Kelly would have the stones to make that play call there, because they had not at that point in the 4th quarter. They had gone into a shell. There's a 100% chance that they thought there's no way that this dude is going to call a pass.
It's be another Howard run or Henderson.
And I think, too, like, let's talk about the field goal here for a second. The field goal attempt that Notre Dame did not make, because
Hold on. I want to give you the one key to that play since Jake asked about it. If you watch the film closely, and Dan Orlovsky pointed it out today, Henderson made the play. I know Howard had to make the throw.
Oh, but the block.
One of your linebackers blitzed, and Henderson stoned him.
Clinton, all of the linebackers.
Yes, but the one that Henderson had to pick up. Otherwise, Howard probably still gets the throw off, but he's getting hit. Yeah. And that ball's probably not getting there. Or it might be picked because Christian Gray was burnt pretty bad. Henderson stonewalls him. And if there's one thing I've learned with Henderson, especially as he's went through his year, he is not afraid of contact. He is a very elusive, athletic back, but boy, he will pass block. Whatever NFL team gets him, you will not have to worry about pass blocking for him.
That's so big for a rookie back.
Yes, like, he is willing to hit people. And if he doesn't make that, you know what reminds me of, and it pains me to do this because this is on the night my team wins a natty, is when my team lost the Super Bowl, the Bengals. If somebody would have just touched Aaron Donald for a split second, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase wide open for a walk-in touchdown because he torched Jalen Ramsey. And instead we didn't, and we lost. And this time, my favorite team gets the block that essentially helps get the pass down the field to win the game. But I agree with you. I didn't expect that. I saw it on 2nd down that they were, again, not having a safety shade with Gray, with Smith, and I'm like, huh. Then I saw it again on 3rd, and I'm like, you got to take the shot here. Because you're just going to get stonewalled at the line of scrimmage again and have to punt. But chuck it deep, man, in the words of James Franklin. And they did, and it broke the game.
Well, so I think what helps with that call is even if you don't get it, I mean, one, you trust your defense, even though Notre Dame has the momentum, but also, two, you know that you cannot lose the game in regulation. The absolute worst case scenario is Notre Dame goes down the field, scores, gets a 2-point conversion, and it's tied. And you're either going to overtime or you get the ball back with a chance to drive for a field goal. So I want to bring this back to the field goal attempt that Notre Dame took at the beginning of the 4th quarter, because I was angry shocked when they came out. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here?
Right. How are you going? I said, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Well, so like it's like, okay, you're making a 16-point, a 13-point game. What does this help you with? And I thought his rationale was fine. Like, and the more I think about it, the more it's not like I'm coming around to agreeing with the decision, because I still would have rather you go for it there. And it looks worse in hindsight because he missed. But like,
he just missed. He fucking doinked that,
man. Yeah, he obliterated the upright. But
Sheesh.
If you make that kick, it's a 13-point game. Then you score the touchdown, and then you don't have to go for 2, which it was a killer. Both of their 2-point plays in this game were just killer. Loved them both.
Second one way better.
Yes.
Because of how many guys they faked out.
Yes.
Because I, like the entire defense, thought, this guy's dead.
Yep.
You're like, oh, shit. There's no one in the end zone.
As soon as I saw him running backward, I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to throw it. And then he threw it, and I'm like, there's no
Great play calls. Great play.
But at that point, then it would have been a 6-point game. So do you think Ohio State would have made the same play call with that being a 6-point game at that point, knowing that if you don't get it, you're giving them the ball back with a chance for them to come down and win the game?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If you gave them the look, I think they would. I think this is not the team. So we have Jake in the chat. This is not the team that couldn't be decisive all on offense other than running up the gut to Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham against Michigan. They have shown they're going to be willing to attack it deep. Yes, they got conservative, and it frustrated me. I got the point of it, right? Like, you don't want to have that mistake that you throw the ball down the field and Xavier Watts makes the game-changing play. The reason I think they also kind of went into conservative mode is what happened when Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit spoke into existence. Ohio State never fumbles the ball. And I looked at Leah and I was like, son of a bitch, we're going to fumble the ball. And then Egbuka breaks off that play, and I see Notre Dame bodies all around him. I'm like, please just hold on to the ball. Hold on to the ball. And then he switches hands. Kids, don't do that at home, okay? Just keep the ball in your one hand and don't switch it in the middle of a sprint. And if he doesn't switch the hand, it doesn't get punched out.
Nope.
But he switches his hand, and a split second later, who made the punch out?
Drake Bowen.
Okay. Bowen comes through and just perfect.
Right on the
Perfect.
ball.
Opportunistic hit. And then I'm like, at first I'm like, okay, his knee was probably down. Then they show me the first replay, and I'm like, his knee was not down. I'm like, this is not what we needed right now. Like, this is what you couldn't have. And now I could feel in my heart, I was like, oh, Ryan's getting juiced. He's getting some life now. He's off the couch. He is coming to life.
I did not get off the couch until the second 2-point conversion. Like, that was the point. I'm like, holy shit, they might come back and do this.
Now, is it okay of me to say, like, I was nervous, Ryan, that when they got it close?
Yeah, of course.
I never thought that Ohio State was going to lose, though.
No, because I mean, like, you're going down the rabbit hole of you need 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions, and the odds of all that happening
slim to none.
Very, very, very slim. And I think, and that was Freeman's part of his rationale too, is why we went for the field goal. Is it felt like we were not going to be able to get 4th and 9 against that defense, and I thought it would still give us a better chance to win, to get points here, because I figured we would probably need 2 more scoring opportunities anyway, which I think is fair. I mean, you can second guess it all you want. I think, like,
but
that combined with like the fake punt decision, like, it just, like, it felt like the questionable calls at that point were piling up, which is why I think there was a stronger reaction to it. Like I said, I'm not in complete agreement with it. Like, the worst part about that too is, like, the 3rd down play. If you watch the replay, he forces it to Greathouse. If he, like, looked to his left, Jeremiah Love was wide open and had a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah. I think my problem was, and not even being the Notre Dame fan here, but having done this podcast and covered them all year, they've been aggressive at every turn this year.
Yep.
I don't like you turning away to do that. And it's almost like the football gods kicking you in the nuts. When you kick that field goal and you dink it, it was like, no, this is not what you've done all year. Yep. You've been aggressive. You should have went for it. And even if you don't, Ohio State's getting the ball inside the 5. You know what happens when you miss the field goal? They get the ball at the 20.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So you just gave them field position.
Well, I mean, they gave them 10 yards because they were at the 9 at that point.
Hallmark on Valentine's Day. I love that. That's great.
No, and I think, like that's the story, like, looking at this team this year, and I think when we get a little bit further out from it, we'll be able to appreciate it a little bit more. Like, the way that, like, it was 30, like, it's 28-7. You fail on the fake punt. Ohio State gets the ball at the 30-yard line, and I'm like, they're going to score another touchdown here, and then this is going to look like Bama 2012. They held them to a field goal, and then they fought back like they have all year.
Mm-hmm. Instead of the luck of the Irish, it was the fight of the Irish.
They are the Fighting Irish.
Were great.
They are the Fighting Irish.
I love the fake punt call there. You know, very ballsy in your own territory.
I would have.
Kid, you got to catch the ball.
No, and that's like.
My God.
Greg commented on us. It was like, I didn't like the fake punt call. I'm like, I mean, everyone's dogging on the fake punt call and how telegraphed it was. The play worked.
It did.
Faison dropped the ball. And
Jelly put it about the only place he could, so Burke couldn't reach and make a play on the ball. Because he was in position. He didn't get smoked. Yep. He was close. If you throw that ball anywhere here, it's getting batted down. He puts it low and outside, exactly where it needs to be, and he drops the ball. And I'm just like, I'm thrilled, obviously. So I'm thinking, we're about to score a touchdown. This game's over. And then Notre Dame comes back on the field. Will Howard did miss Carnell Tate. Like that. Yep. Will Howard had about 2 bad throws last night, and that was one of them. It was like, I'm happy because you're going to get the field goal. But I'm just like, damn it. If you just hit that, it is officially over. They're not coming back. You got to hit that pass. Mm-hmm. And I would argue, and I love Carnell Tate, and I think he's great. I think that's Jeremiah Smith. That play is still probably made.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because he somehow finds some alien way to make that catch. But, and you know, that's probably the problem sometimes when you have a guy like that and your quarterback is used to, like, not everybody is him. Carnell Tate is very good. Emeka Egbuka, very good. Mm-hmm. They're not Jeremiah Smith. Yep. And they're not always going to be able to just bail you out and make an otherworldly play. And my big thing I wanted to talk about tonight, I just want to applaud both quarterbacks, Ryan. I think
Played great, both of them.
Riley Leonard took too much of the blame in his post game for the second quarter. That all wasn't on him. You didn't get the false start. You didn't get the hold. You missed some passes. That's probably because you're still dead tired from your
Well,
first
man,
drive.
even on the holding penalty, like the throw that he made to the sideline, they would have had a 2nd and 1. He made a beautiful play on that.
Yep. And what did we say? What did I say was part of the problem with Ohio State and Texas that kept them from breaking that game open? In the second, third, fourth drive, you shot yourself in the foot and you didn't pull away. Yep. And in a game which Notre Dame is, and I mean this respectfully, at a talent disadvantage and a speed disadvantage, you can't do that. Ohio State is even with Texas, if not maybe a little ahead, given that they won the game. Notre Dame and Ohio State weren't quite there, and Notre Dame couldn't afford to do that. I mostly talked about Ohio State couldn't do that. I didn't expect a team who was so pristine all year with that kind of stuff to do that, and they did. And I'm like, this is where Ohio State has to jump on them. But back to the quarterbacks. Leonard for Notre Dame showed some tough as nails, man. And my brother-in-law sends me at one point when it's later in the game and Leonard's making his passes and they're getting completed. And he's like, boy, Ohio State's not getting any pressure. He's getting such clean passes. I'm like, no, they are getting pressure. Riley Leonard's just stone cold right now throwing in the pressure. Ohio State got pressure all night. He just threw the ball well in those situations. Now, the receivers are open. We were getting a little conservative on defense, playing prevent defense, but Riley Leonard was tough as nails, man. I applaud him. That kid, I love him. I don't know what he'll be in the NFL or if he will even be. It's a bummer for him that his last game goes out that way, but he can know he left it all out on the field and did his best. And now I turn to Will Howard, where we've heard from one of the Acho brothers. I don't know which one it was. We've heard from Notre Dame truly, Malik Zaire, time and time again from the start of this playoff that Will Howard is the worst quarterback in the playoff. Eat your words now, boys.
He was so damn good.
Because he stood there and led this team through 4 games. I know the other components helped them. But Will Howard, he shut everybody up. He played great. And what I thought was I still think they still may have won, but Will Howard's legs in this game changed the game.
100%.
The one time he had about a 15, 16-yard run, I believe on a 3rd down.
Yep.
Notre Dame brings all the pressure from his right. And then they're playing man. And I watch Ohio State, they start to push the guys to the right, and the Red Sea just parts. And I'm like, run the ball! Run! You don't need to throw. Just freaking run, man. And he ran for 16 yards.
Hole that even Kyle McCord could have picked up the first down.
You had to give him one more love before the season wraps up.
No, and I mean, I tweeted that from our account. I didn't, and I even said it too. Like, I don't say this to dog on Kyle McCord, but I get why Ohio State fans wanted to move off of him because that, and we talked about it before. The legs that Will Howard brings, that dimension that he brings, it makes this offense that much more deadly because it's just another component that you have to deal with. Like, you have so many receivers you have to shut down. You have so many running backs you have to shut down. And on that play, Notre Dame played perfect coverage, but they had to divest all of their resources to playing perfect coverage. They did not have a spy, and that left Will Howard open to run for the first down.
And that's also something Notre Dame didn't probably game plan for a lot because Ohio State never showed it. They waited until literally the last time. And what was my one parting piece of the why I gave Ohio State this advantage in this game, Ryan, was because I believed they were going to utilize Howard's legs. And they did it because there was nothing left to leave out there. Without Will Howard's legs, this game is much harder to win last night. Not that it wasn't hard, but I don't know if you build that lead.
Well, I don't know that you score.
How'd you get the Judkins? Yeah, how'd you get the Judkins touchdown? It's because Will Howard faked the shit out of him that he was going to run, and everybody came at him and then just doink, touchdown. And it opened so much up. I think, I love all the fans tuning in, but my 8:15 timer's coming up before I get axe murdered by my wife. I thought it was a phenomenal game. Hindsight's always 20/20. I would have been happy with a blowout because my stress level would have been way lower. But now that you come out on the other side, it's a close game win. I'm glad Notre Dame pushed Ohio State. I think Marcus Freeman still has a lot to learn in this type of big game. It's his first one, as he should, right? Like, nobody walks in other than maybe Nick Saban in his first national championship game and is just stone cold.
Well, no, man, look at, the other guys, too. Like, it took Kirby 6 years. It took Day 6 years.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning, for as much praise as he's gotten, he still hasn't won one. James Franklin hasn't won one. Brian Kelly hasn't won one. Lincoln Riley hasn't won one. Like, it takes a lot, man, and it's an experience that I hope that they'll be better for. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it shows you like you have to elevate your recruiting even more than you already have. Like you need a game wrecker on the defensive line, and it's I think an all-time what if for me is and this goes for both teams too, because I would have loved to see both teams at full health there. But I think Notre Dame at full health could have made this a more compelling game from start to finish,
Certainly.
just because they just did not have the horses left on the defensive line. And I know
I
you got
think
to
if
get
you
out of
just
here,
move
so we
Riley
can.
Mills back.
Yeah, Riley Mills for sure. But if you had one of those edge rushers too, like you have a guy who could be a disruptor, then that's definitely going to help you a little bit. And I mean, we'll talk a little bit on Thursday, kind of like big picture for both of these teams and our 12-team playoffs, because Clinton's got to get out of here. But we wanted to make sure we got this show in tonight for you guys. And before we get out of here, Clinton, I just have to give you credit on your prediction, because you said that it would be a one-score game. Ohio State would get a late turnover and get a touchdown to make it a two-score game, and it didn't exactly play out like that. I don't think this game flow happened how either of us thought it would, but Ohio State, with a one-score lead late in the fourth quarter, gets a late score to go up by 2 scores, and I think you called the winning margin of 11. So
I
good for
sure
you.
did. I wanted to shout out Jake's comment. Jake, yes, I agree. Kelly's system fit very well with Howard. It also really helps when you have the trio of wide receivers that they have that can just get open, right? It makes it way easier for a quarterback. You still have to deliver the ball, and Howard did great, but it helps a ton that Kelly is great at scheming things when he decides to not make a game plan like they did against Michigan and Nebraska. When he's in his bag and Will Howard is operating, it does help a ton that your playmakers tend to be usually better than the teams you go against, at least in the Big Ten, most times. Like not much Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota is going to throw at you to slow those guys down. Howard made the plays. Leonard made the plays. It was a hell of a game. I want to feel bad for you, Ryan, but I can't in this moment. I'm thrilled. Because if Ohio State would have lost that lead and lost the game, I would have been way more distraught than if Notre Dame would have just bullied them to death for the whole game. I'd have been crushed.
That would have been a tough one.
I don't know if I could have joined you tonight. I'd still be puking in disgust. But this is the one time I come on. Ryan laughs at my garb. We do our best to not be homers on this show. We try to be as equal as we can. We still are fans.
No,
and for one time,
listen, buddy, I'll shit on my team.
Well, I will gladly shit on them. I try not to boast about them too much because I want to be fair to all fan bases, right? Like, I'll try to be a neutral observer to everybody. But the one time I'm going to celebrate the Natty on this show, I enjoy it. It's great to be a fan of college football. It's a bummer the season's over. We got, 200 and something days till we get to do this again.
Yep.
For their season ride of spring through this season, Ryan and I thank all of you who have joined us. We appreciate it, and we hope you guys continue to ride with us. Tell your friends about us. We want to grow this show, which seems to be the most common term we use all the time is grow the show. And
grower and a shower.
Have more people follow us. We do this for fun, guys. We have 40-hour plus work week jobs. We come home and put this in because we love it, and we want to keep growing, both podcasts, YouTube. We're doing our best, and we thank you all for being a part of this, and we really enjoy it. Ryan's got a smirk on his face.
No, I was just going to make a penile joke, but we're gonna be the bigger man here. We'll be back.
That Pornhub sponsorship is coming.
We're working on it, man. Where are we coming back? Do you want to go tomorrow or do you want to go Thursday?
I think we need to do our next live Thursday. Ryan and I update. We're going to take essentially a 3-4 week break. We're going to record 4 episodes that are not live, but they will. The YouTube link will also be posted with our podcast links if you guys like the videos. We're going to do 1 a week starting next week. I believe we'll release them probably on Mondays, a normal day for us.
Yep.
And then we'll post them to be available. I'll still do my best to cut some clips and get that stuff in, but we want to take a nice vocal cord break and a mental break, and then we'll come back to you. I believe it's the week of the Combine, which is very exciting for everybody, and then spring ball. It's amazing, right? College football season is so long now. It never ends.
6 weeks.
We'll still be active on the Twitter, of course. That won't go away, but we're going to take a little break as far as live shows and hopefully have some fun topics for you guys.
Yeah,
one more live night, I think, is the plan.
Yep. One more live show for the 2024 season. Will be Thursday night, 9 p.m. normal time. We'll any leftover thoughts from this game, and then just kind of thoughts on the 12-team playoff in general. And then, as always, follow us on Twitter at ITPCFB. We're going to do a mailbag episode as one of these 4. So if you have any questions that you want answered, Just go ahead, tweet at us. But like I said, follow us there, and you'll kind of catch what we're doing over these next couple of weeks. And then we'll keep you updated on our spring ball plans as we go forward. For Clinton, I'm Ryan. I'm not a fan of a national championship team, but Clinton is.
Keep it between the pylons, guys.
We'll see you Thursday.
I'm sticking with that forever now. That was cool.